Delek. Kanji Sergio Rajar Bene Mandara Dalajun Jindan, Dengin Nuru, Jimabas, Zao Nebelun, Gayandan, Kancher Nepal, Zorojar of the Gavari Bazimba Kayamba. Tedadam Jeterba, the Bogu, Dubisung Engine, La the Lemon Miam G, Wambo Dan, Jajin, La Suchi, Chola Chawache Banam, Sangesura, Dosijin, Devi Juru. Tadaji Dambi Jinin Drishe, Kandos Judonga Jigdana, Dejulma Juba Kansuda. Thing the temperature Charbin Bird of Tamje Drishe, Namo, Layak, Don Jinke, Jubunda, me, Janamda. Draw Gunji Danam Jizambardam Jeke, Dodhagi, then do Paldanza Lamarambuja, Dagi Jurbe Medeshune, Cutting Champion Gunjisund, Kuzung Dujimu Drupsaldos. Tabke Tukji Shajerizutron, Shanjimitu, Dujipunjamba, Sergi Lumbo Tabruji Bego. Shaje Jabe Shabla Chatsa Lo, Chaton Kolo Jube Jabodon Chandon Kabasan Bosanget, Kala Kande Teleterdemba. Zumba Jeres de la Chaza Losage Jawatamji, Chipumbo Chik do Basiji Kunji Pajube Jambeyan, La Chatsa Lo, Kanshi Tony Shinje, Ponala Zodan, Tani Chojo Jeb, Doje Jan La Chatsa Korwale do Tarema, do the Reji Judrul Durano, Namledu Domayum La Chatsa Lo. Shajatam Jizibijam, but Duganjili Dube to Jizamit Elizabeth, Jamgula Majabla Guchas. Shajatam Jizibijam, but Duganjili Dube to Jijin Summit Elizabeth, Jamgula Majabla Gujas, Shajatam Jizibijam, but Duganjili Dube to Jij Summit Elizabeth, Jamgula Majabla Guchas. Sorry, that's all I can say. Shinjala Shilama Kinseva, Tingman, Kaulama Kinseva, Sildresignalama Kinseva, Tujizushilama Kinseva, Cheno, Chinse the Cheno, Chinap Tirsindani Lama Jambal the Cheno. Chukutalo Ningi Kolo, Namsam Kangi Chakdanso, Nesem Tache, Tambe member, Tegun Gumbi Suzuchi, Jasitu Namdar Subject, Chetala, Nerzol, Yabjinil, Hashentala, Revamachi Kalganta. Ninten, Kundu Jamia Kubesam Janchi Tujeshu, Jungzen Menya Menjasung Rangane Bilibisi, Tadung, Kunyam Major Padu, Japshan, Solwar Majorochi, Hong, Ujen Ujin of Johnson, Pemakazar Dombola, Yanzi Chogging Udum, Pemajung Shesut, Cordo Kandra Mambego, Keki Jesu Datu Jishinjil of Jerishu, Guru Pemasidi, Kusumlama. Soji doji dala chok to moju ngudup saldo so jerum bachela so andem kaljem barjem mejuj tunjin samba drubadan chodon to ngudup saldo so yeah Trashy Delek, please generate proper motivation. As I said before, that since this is a spiritual gathering, spiritual discussion, teaching, both speakers and listeners alike have proper motivation. Speakers should speak only for the liberation, for the sake of the liberation of the listeners, and listeners should listen for the sake of the liberation only. And once again, please bring Shakyamuni Buddha to your mind. Actually, I think these days, thanks to television, we can imagine better, how Buddha must have sat under the Bodhi tree, spoken, walked. I feel like that. Anyway, so we bring Buddha Shakyamuni to our mind, and the whole text, or at least these 12 activities of Buddha, they are basically recollection of Shakyamuni Buddha. So it's like the whole session is a one big practice, In the last session, we stopped at the point where Buddha has practiced austerity, asceticism for 6 years, and finally Shakyamuni Siddhartha, not Buddha, I guess at that time, to be more detailed, we have to say the prince, or Shakyamuni. Practiced for 6 years and finally gave up that type of austerity and started eating normal food, wearing normal clothes. During that account, it really, I really appreciate the detail. When I was reading through Abhinishkramana Sutra, it says he started eating warm food. So for 6 years he was eating just unboiled, uncooked food, just cold. And that now that he thought that, oh, this is not correct, he started eating warm food, he said. Sujata makes offering to him, he eats food. The 5 companions, his attendants or his fellow retreatants, they came to a conclusion that now Siddhartha has lost his way, so we will no longer be with him. Siddhartha has become indulgent, gluttonous is what they called him. He's gluttonous, he's indulgent, and they abandoned him. Now is the part where he decides to go to Bodh Gaya, I think. Right then. Where it is? Where is it? There is such a the text is here. The 8th activity of now going to the heart of Buddhahood, heart of enlightenment. It is the name of the place, heart of enlightenment. Apologies. After accepting the food from Sujata and after beginning to live normally, I suppose, you can say that, he now have understood the path, and he now wanted to find a place where he can enter into Buddhahood. He could feel it, let's say like that. He could feel that enlightenment is not far. And near the river Naranjana, he looked around, and at some point he found he came across a big rocky mountain. And he saw that it was full of flowers and it was full of trees with a lot of fruits. So he thought this is a very good place of practice, it's a perfect practice, and he climbed the mountain, and there he found a very nice place to sit and meditate, and he sat down. But as soon as he sat down, the whole mountain crumbled. It became like it crumbled. I don't know how a mountain crumbles, but it did. And then he thought, what is it? What is the cause of the crumbling of this mountain? Is it because the local deity of this mountain, they are unhappy because I came here? Or is it someone trying to create obstacle for me? As soon as he thought like that, gods appeared and they told him that there are two things that not many places can hold. One, someone who has no merit at all, like not even a tiny bit of merit. No earth can hold such a person. And someone who has all the merit, so to speak, someone who has all the merit, these two. So then they urge him that this is not the place for the Bodhisattva. You are the second one. You are the one who has all the merit. This is not the place. Please keep walking and you will reach Vajra Asana. Vajra Asana means indestructible or adamantine, indestructible seat. Vajra means, yes, indestructible, adamantine, sort of strange to say adamantine, or some people translate it as a diamond. I guess you can say that, considering that diamonds are supposed to be quite indestructible. I say quite because they're not really indestructible, but still it's close to that. Vajra is that. Asana means seat, a place to sit. It can be just a chair, it can be the ground. So here it means Bodh Gaya, especially where Mahabodhi temple is now made, at that place. They say that, and they also say that that is the Vajra Asana. There, the past, future, and present Bodhisattva can gain enlightenment. That is the place. So, Bodhisattva walks on the path that was shown by these celestial beings, and on the way they cleared all thorns and they clean everything like that, and it's kind of poetic and like Disney, like all the animals, and they all sort of came and surrounded the Bodhisattva as he was walking, and even the wind was moving very sort of pleasantly and so on. And when the Bodhisattva saw all these signs, he thought, oh, judging by all these signs, it seems like tonight I will become Buddha. And as he was approaching Bodhi tree, it is said that he saw many seats. He saw actually 1,000 seats, three of which belong to the past Buddhas, and the fourth one he sat on that, because the rest belongs to the future Buddhas, and then the rest sort of disappeared. Yes, before sitting there, he thought, oh, I should have he had this wish to sit on a very soft seat made of soft grass, and Indra, knowing that he appeared as a grass seller, Swasti. In Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Swasti is actually a sort of a real boy, and he also brings his sisters and brothers to the Buddha, and they're sort of Swasti's, a buffalo herd, and also he gathers grass. Maybe that was Master Thich Nhat Hanh's rich imagination, because I've not seen it anywhere, but I really like that. I really like that, and I think thousands of people owe a lot to Master Thich Nhat Hanh for making the life of Buddha so vibrant and interesting. But here, Swasti was not a sort of a real man. He was just an sort of emanation of Indra, who appears as a grass seller. Now you might be wondering, why are they doing this? Why are these gods appearing again and again? Because they have made promise to the past Buddhas many times. They have made promises to the past Bodhisattvas that we will help those who are on the path. We will have, if you read any sutra, at the end of the sutra, Indra, or sometimes some beings come and say, this is such a wonderful teaching. Whoever holds this teaching, I will protect this person, whether this person is sleeping, eating, walking, like that. And so it really feels like they're actually keeping their promises, by helping the Bodhisattva. So Bodhisattva he asked the grass seller Swasti, please, can you give me some grass today? I have a big I am in need of this. I have a very important thing to do. And Swasti offers the grass to Siddhartha, and Siddhartha with his own hand he spread the grass without any sort of unevenness, and he sits on the grass and makes this decision that until the end of all suffering, until the wisdom that is without any affliction is reached, even if my life ends, I will not disturb my asana, my meditation posture. I will not loosen my posture. He made that decision. As soon as he made that decision, it is said that the palace, the dwelling of Mara, started shaking, and not only that, he started having a lot of 80 or 60 different bad dreams or something like that, and also anyway, so he had many problems started appearing in the realm of Mara. By the way, I've said this before, I say it again, Mara is also a person, though. It's not just the ego. The ego, of course, obviously the real Mara, the definition of Mara is something that creates obstacle to Dharma. That's the definition of Mara. So the real Mara is our self-clinging, our ego. That is true. But externally too, there was a person there still is a person, called Mara. It's just it's actually a god, a celestial god, and he's actually a king of a realm of God. And it's just he really dislikes dharma. He really dislikes practitioners, and he really doesn't want anybody to become Buddha. That's just, as he has a name actually, and he had sons and daughters, and when he decides to wage war against Siddhartha, half of his children were against him. Half of his sons. He's supposed to have 1,000 sons, and half of them were against their father. They say, no, we shouldn't disturb Bodhisattva, we should protect him, like that. But they lose against the half who also have the father, and like that. So it's actually quite interesting. I think the Asian masters, when they talk about Mara to the West, from one side, I guess they want to talk about the real Mara, which is the real obstacle to Dharma, is our ego, right? When we don't have ego, external Mara cannot do anything, right? So I guess they're talking about that. But I also feel like sometimes, we are just we are pandering. Pandering, what is pandering? Is like, trying to please, and afraid that Westerners will think, oh, that sounds like Satan, It's not. Very different. God and Satan sounds like true absolutes, right? They never change. God is good all the time. Satan is always bad. Mara is not like that. I think there is some sutras where Vajrapani chases the Mara and makes Mara take refuge. Like that, But it's a complex individual, this Mara, and his surroundings, his retinue are also complex. Anyway, so he decides, I have to, right now I can disturb him. Right now Siddhartha has not become enlightened, so before it's too late, I must do something. So he goes, he emanates as a messenger, and he runs towards Siddhartha. Siddhartha is now sitting in meditation, and he says, oh, what are you doing? I finally found you, What are you doing here? You must come with me. Devadatta has waged war against Kapilavastu, he says. He destroyed the palace, and the Shakya have decided to follow him. And your family, everyone is in great danger. You must come right now. As soon as he said that, 3 non-virtuous emotions arose in Bodhisattva: desire, harmful thought, and aggression. Desire towards his wives. He immediately thought, what is happening to my wife? What is happening to Yasodhara? What is happening to Mrigajata? And harmful thoughts towards Devadatta. This Devadatta is always trying to bring harm. So, anger. And again, aggression towards the Shakyans. Thinking, how could they follow Devadatta? How could they abandon my family? How could they abandon my father and my queens and so on? As soon as they arose, Siddhartha noticed, and he thought, hey, why am I having this negative emotion? Why is it arising? And then he saw, that's not a real messenger. That is the Mara creating trouble. This is interesting because Never heard of this. I've never heard of this. Have you? You know, they always, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes, life story of Buddha has become like something that you just do. Nobody pay attention to it, and it's a bit irritating. And I even feel like sort of blaming those masters who wrote life stories of Buddha too in Tibet for not including these such important aspects, But of course, what do I know? But I only saw this in a Japanese manga, actually. I have two people here, so I'm looking. I'm not being weird. Japanese manga. I heard that is the first manga of Japan. It's 8 books. I have it actually. Wolfgang Stiller, if he's listening, gave me this. It's 50% of it is not accurate, and he says it's just comic books, So he creates new character around Buddha and so on, and it's interesting. It's manga, but. When Siddhartha was meditating in a cave, there he starts. Did a messenger come? I forgot. But anyway, he starts remembering his queen and his children, his father, and he's really torn. He's wondering what's happening with them. He's worried, and then he's crying and so on. I thought, this is really not true, Siddhartha never happened. But then in the sutra, you see that. Obviously, he didn't cry and make a big scene, but it just arose a little bit, just Hampur thought a little bit arose, and then he immediately noticed, and it said that immediately he gave rise to 3 different antidotes. He gave rise to renunciation, and he gave rise to thoughts that are not harmful, and thoughts that were not aggressive, without any aggression. Then Mara appeared himself now in his form and talks to Siddhartha, saying, "Why are you sitting here?" asks Mara. And Bodhisattva replies, "For complete enlightenment." And Mara says, "Oh, how will someone like you attain complete enlightenment?" And Bodhisattva says, and Bodhisattva replies, "You, Mara, the king of God, is the king of God in one of God realms, You became the king of this God realm for making only one offering." Siddhartha knows this, So he says, "You become the king of God for making only one offering, and I have offered everything for 3 countless aeons. I have made innumerable offerings. So of course, he says, I have, for the sake of sentient beings, I have offered my head, hands, legs, eyes, flesh, blood, sons, daughters, all of my wealth and everything that I have, whatever I have, everything for the sake of sentient beings and liberation I have offered. So why wouldn't I become Buddha?" said the Bodhisattva. Then the Mara says, "Well, I have made one offering in my previous life, and now I become king of a celestial realm. You are witness to that. You just said so yourself. But who is your witness that you have been practicing for 3 countless eons? This is just nonsense talk, And Bodhisattva hits his hand on the ground and says, "This earth is my witness, And it is said that deity of earth, actually a goddess, she came out and said, that is true. She told to the Mara, that is true, exactly as Bodhisattva said. I have been witness to your countless of activities. And as soon as Mara heard that, he he lost all confidence and ran away. But he's going to come back. Night is young. How long have I been talking? 30 minutes. Okay. Then so actually from there comes this famous posture of Buddha, one hand touching the ground. It is to commemorate, to remind us, we make all the statues. I don't think Buddha has to always sit like this when he was alive, but it's for us to remind us that how to say, that the earth itself is witness to the greatness of our teacher, that the authenticity of our teacher. And from there comes the expression that Sanun Gichagja, comes the expression, the posture of pressing the earth or touching the earth. And as you know, some of you know, and I hope the others know this too, that Khyentse Rinpoche has started this project, touching the earth, right? Bhumi Sparsha, touching the earth. And I thought such so unique, and it is attracting so many youngsters. Please, just have a look at it, and even if you may not be interested, but you can share it just through however you can to reach more people. I think already thousands of youngsters all around the globe are interested in this, and it is really rejuvenating. It is really creating a new interest in the life of Shakyamuni, and people are drawing, painting, singing, and making short skits about life of Buddha, and who knows, or they're doing all kind of things, and I thought, maybe that's what they need. I guess they like it more, like these things more than someone sitting and looking at a camera and talking. Maybe this is more interesting, Bhumi Sparsha, that's Sanskrit for touching the ground, touching the earth. Anyway, then the Mara thinks, I couldn't talk him out of this, I couldn't deceive him. Now I will force him through might. So he calls all of his army, and it is said Maras from other worlds came with their army, and the whole sky and earth was filled with army of Mara, and they came riding elephants and horses and camels and goats and pigs and dogs and owl, and I like it as squirrels. No, squirrel, not squirrel. What is that? That animal that eats snakes. Mongoose and monkeys and foxes. And anyway, they all came with their bow and arrow and sword and all kind of, weapon. And they surrounded where Bodhisattva was sitting. And when Bodhisattva saw all that, he thought, even when an ordinary person begins to attack you, you should do something to protect yourself. Then obviously now I must do something. And he contemplates. He goes into contemplation, meditation, and then no matter what, he meditates on. Actually, he meditates on a crystal dome that surrounds him, like a protection, and then no matter whatever they throw at him, they broke, and the more weapons they throw, the dome made more noise, and this vibration of this noise scared them, and they it was so loud that they lost their sanity and ran in all directions. So in this way, the first part of night was spent like this, very eventful, and he practiced like this. Then in this first part of the night, he thought, I should generate clairvoyance of clairvoyance of knowing different world, knowing the world, different parts of land and so on. And he contemplated on that. He went into meditation, and immediately he gained that ability that he could emanate many of himself. He could become many, he could become one, and he could I want to go through this. He could he could vanish, and he could appear suddenly like that, and he could experienced that he could go through walls, he could go through mountains, he could go through anything. There was nothing that can obstruct him. He became like space, like that, and he could fly, and he could swim like a fish. And what else? And when he raised his hand, he could touch the god realms of Brahma, like that. Then Mara thought, best disturbance to meditation is sound, so I'm going to make loud noise, he thought. But he couldn't come near Bodhisattva. He's very afraid. So from far away, with hundreds, thousands of retinues, they start making noise. And Bodhisattva, seeing that, he meditates, and a thick forest appears from the ground between the Mara and Bodhisattva, and that blocks the sound. And Bodhisattva is not disturbed. It's like a movie. And then Bodhisattva thought, I should achieve the clairvoyance of years. That's it is called. It is also known as godly years, celestial years. Now, it doesn't really have to do with God, but it's just that only those who have very strong meditation can gain this. When you have such years, meaning when you have such ability, then you can understand everything. You can hear any sound in this world right in front of you or far, far away, and like that, and you can really understand everybody's language. So he contemplated on that, and he could hear everything. Then he looked at the retinue of Mara, this billions of army of Mara, and he thought, he wondered, who among this retinue wants to really harm me, and who among this retinue does not want to harm me? He thought, to know this, I have to know their mind. So for that, I must generate clairvoyance of knowing others' mind. And then he went into meditation again. see Mara came to harm, but they become useful object for Siddhartha. And then he contemplated that meditation, and he, at midnight, he generate this clairvoyance. He could know all of their mind. He could experience it, see it directly. And he saw who has what type of thoughts, who has what type of doubts, and who is with desire, who is with anger, everything. And who is free of. So because Mara's sons and retinues, there were also many who were bodhisattvas too, who were sort of, or in the side of Buddhism, who were great practitioners too. And he saw that who was honest, who was dishonest, who was for the Dharma, basically, and who was for destructions of others. And he saw all that. Then he thought, these retinue of Mara, how many of them have been my mother in past life? How many have them been my father, my enemy, my opponent, my murderer? How many have them been my friends, family? He wanted to know that. And he contemplated again. And then he thought, for that I have to generate clairvoyance of knowing past lives. These are all very specific clairvoyance, actually. And he contemplated on that. And in the midnight, this clairvoyance arose, where he saw directly who were born as what, in the 1 life ago, 2 life ago, 3 lives ago, 4, 5, 6, 100,000 billion, sort of million, billion, and he went all the back to the beginning of this world, he said. And then he went all the way back to the destructions of past world, like that. It went back, unendingly. And he saw that now he knew each one, what were they born as, what was their name, to what family they were born, what type of food they used to eat, whether they had a good life or bad life, what type of experience they had on which day, at what time, and how long they lived. Everything became very clear to him. Then Bodhisattva thought, these retinue of Mara, definitely, what type of life, future life they will get. And for that I have to contemplate on, to gain the clairvoyance of death and migration. And he went into that meditation. Then he saw that who is going to die when, and what type of birth, what type of complexion, who will get a good complexion. Complexion has to do with health and happiness, right? So basically, who is going to become happy, who is going to get bad complexion, and like that. He saw who's going to go to higher realms, who's going to go to lower realms. And he could see this towards all sentient beings. So whoever he concentrated upon, he can see all that. Well, he's not Buddha yet, but he could see a lot. Then this is I really find it very interesting, these details. I'm sorry if you are completely new and you think what's going on, but you will not hear these details many times. Then at the last part of the night, before morning, that is, before dawn, he thought, now I should gain the wisdom that will eradicate all afflictions from me. And because while contemplating on himself and on the retinue of Mara, he saw that because of their negative karma, they will gain a lot of suffering, and he saw that, so this is truth of suffering, and it has a cause of suffering. Since there is a cause, the cause can be stopped. So there is cessation of, so there is a path of stopping that cause. And then if there is a path, there is an end. So there is a cessation of that suffering. So he understood Four Noble Truth. Before he saw it, he understood Four Noble Truth. So he thought, then I must generate this type of wisdom, this type of path, and Then Mara, knowing that now it's the last moment, last chance, attacked full force with all billions of retinue, and Siddhartha defeated them with weapon of compassion. It's right, weapon of compassion. He entered meditation of compassion and destroys Mara, and that moment become Buddha. Did I put two activities together? All right. I jumped through parts where there's discussion between the good sons of Maras and Mara. The good sons, they say, please do not try to harm. Any way you cannot harm this type of bodhisattva, even if you throw down mountain ranges on him, this will not move even a hair on his body, like that, and they don't listen. And this famous account of Mara sending his daughters, beautiful daughters, to distract Siddhartha. Funny enough, in Abhinishkramana Sutra, he does that after he becomes Buddha. He doesn't send his daughter. His daughters, so Siddhartha becomes Buddha, and Mara loses all hope and goes back, and he's completely depressed. He's not eating, sleeping, drinking, anything. And seeing his distress, his daughters, three main daughters, come to their father and say, what happened? And he tells what happened, and she says, and they say, there is no man in this world that can tolerate our beauty, so we will go, don't worry. And the father says, no, it's Buddha now, it's too late. They say, oh, no, just watch, And that's funny, because in the Lalita Vistara Sutra, I think, and also Sakyapandita text, they do that before he becomes Buddha. That's what we think, right? But anyway, there's two accounts, and both could be true. Yes. So that's what happens. What happens is, I become a storyteller now. Mara is completely sad now, depressed. Not only him, all of his retinue. It is said that they become so sad that they left their weapon right there on the ground. They didn't even take anything. They just walked back home. So Then the daughters asks what happened, and then he says, yeah, this happened. So they say, oh, don't worry. There is no man in this world that can resist our temptation. We will bind this Buddha in the rope of temptation, in the sort of, rope of desire, like how we bind elephants with, from forest with rope, and we domesticate them. Similar like this, we do that to you. Don't worry. And the father says, no, someone who has no longer desire is out of my reach now, out of my range. You cannot do anything to them. Oh, just don't worry, father, you just watch. And it is said that out of arrogance and pride, they flew like lightning and appeared in front of Siddhartha. And they made prostrations to Siddhartha and sat near him, and they wrote, we offer ourselves to you, and from now on we want to serve you, whatever you want from us. For an ordinary man in the middle of forest, beautiful girl says, we do whatever you want. That's really tempting. But this is Siddhartha. He doesn't even notice, he doesn't even look. I mean, he noticed, but he doesn't even look. He sits ignoring them. They say this 3 times. He doesn't even budge. So then they go, they regroup somewhere else. What should we do? I really like this, what they do. I mean, first they say, each men are different, says one of them. You never know what they like. So how about we do this? We show him many, many, many beautiful young girls, but each different, So that's what they do. They emanate girls who are virgin, meaning, yes, completely sort of untouched. Girls who have had 1 children, girls who have had 2 children, girls who have had 3 children. You never know who prefers what. And everybody they send in front of Siddhartha, their emanation, their miracle or whatever. And they all make prostrations to Buddha and said and says, oh, we offer ourselves to you. We're sort of at your disposal, whatever you wish of us. He doesn't say anything. Once they say, twice, thrice they request such. He doesn't budge. So they're lost. They go back to, they regroup again. Then this third one I like. Then the girls are saying, how we are so pretty, we're the most prettiest in this world. How come he doesn't like like us? He must like older women. And they say, yes, men like different things. So they say, now we will emanate many different old women with different stages until sort of those who are really sort of old and bent and cannot walk. You never know, he might like it. They all go now and sit in front of Siddhartha, Buddha, sort of old women all over, especially those 3 girls, completely old and cannot even walk. And they again prostrate to Buddha and says, we will do whatever you want, we are at your disposal. Buddha doesn't budge, doesn't say anything, doesn't smile, doesn't frown, nothing. And they have lost. Not only that, Buddha blesses them, that through the blessing of Buddha, they cannot become young again. They remain old, and they literally freak out and run to their father, screaming, it says, because they cannot even walk properly. They have walking with sticks and cannot see and cannot hear. So they go to their father and says, oh, protect us, help us, Where is it? and to tame them. Actually, yes, Siddhartha did that to tame them and to generate renunciation within these girls. He blesses them to be old, so they run to their father. And the father asks, what did you do? And they say, and father says, see, I told you it is useless, but you were so proud and you went like a lightning to your own doom, and now father says, now in this world only Buddha can help you, no one can help you. So then they go to Buddha, where Buddha is, and they make prostrations, and how to say, they confess. They say, oh great monk Bhagavan, renunciant Bhagavan, we are like children, and out of our ignorance and out of our unknowing we try to tempt the Buddha. So we are guilty of this and we confess, and please forgive us, like that. And Buddha forgives them, and Buddha blesses that they can become young and beautiful again. They request, and Buddha blesses them to become young and beautiful again. And this time they generate devotion to Buddha. They become very devoted, and they circumambulate and prostrate at the feet of Buddha and go back. Then at that time, when Buddha became enlightened, when the messenger of Shuddhodana saw that Buddha became enlightened, and he runs back and tells the father, I have a great news, your son had finally he become enlightened, he become Buddha. Now comes the funny part. According to this sutra, and this is also quite well known, Rahula was born on that day after 6 years. Siddhartha left 6 years ago. Rahula was born on that day, and this is actually this is funny because people don't talk about this so much, because in many accounts it is actually said that Rahula was kept, that Yashodhara, Rahula stayed in his mother's womb for 6 years. This is actually nothing miraculous. Even when was it? Recently I saw that one woman kept a child in her body. She didn't even know she was pregnant, still had the child. She thought the child died 20 years ago or something. And when she was 60, the child was born, so. He was around 30, the boy was conceived, and for almost 30 years, 20 years, he kept. Anyway, so this seems to be happening in other parts too, and it's not necessarily something miraculous, but that's what's supposed to have happened according to this sutra. And actually, it is also mentioned in other places too. The son of Buddha becomes a great practitioner, a great Vinaya holder, Rahula. And anyway, Rahula and Ananda was born at the same day. And but it is said that at that time, Shuddhodana was not convinced that Rahula was Siddhartha's son, because father left 6 years ago and now you have a son. How can it be my son's son? How can it be my real grandson? And to prove that, Yashodhara, there was a big stone that Siddhartha removed when he was there, out of his might. So Yashodhara puts Rahula on this stone. Yashodhara, the stone is near a lake or a pond actually, and she puts Rahula on top of this stone, the newborn child, and she makes this aspiration that if this is really the son of Siddhartha, then the stone and the child will not sink into the water, rather they will float. And that's exactly what happened in front of everyone. Everybody witnessed that, and this convinced Shuddhodana. Yes, I think that's what they say. I cannot find it now, it's too many words here. But at that time there were many great omens, and there was also lunar eclipse and so on. And then the grandfather named grandson Rahula. It's a bit different from other versions where the name Rahula was given by Siddhartha himself before he went on to before he left, right? But here it's not like that. He was conceived the night Siddhartha left, and he was born 6 years after. I guess it makes sense, the strongest distraction to a parent, to a person, is their child, I think. So after Siddhartha became Buddha, then he was born. And he also named the cousin of Rahula, cousin of Buddha, I think, Siddhartha, Ananda, because it was such an auspicious time that everyone was happy, so he named Ananda. All right, let's stop here. Sonam de tamje zigbanyen thomne nyebe danam phamje de chagan naji balong chubai sibe solen rowan rowar sho rowe dungal menjik bu dewa thamji jungen tembanya dan kurdi dan chede yurin ne juro che lojal gawonyer gawo che antongen ne manam sering ne me phunsum tawdo dewa dembar sho changju sem jorum bu je maje banam je banda je banyam ba me ba khone khondo phya. May I in all my lives carry far the weight of Buddha Dharma, and if I am not capable to do so, may I always be worried about the longevity of Dharma.